Hi, welcome to learnhowtogarden.com, and in today's episode I'm going to be telling you those jobs and things you can do in the month of July. If you're not already subscribed to me at Learn How to Garden, there's a link just above this video. Click on there, it'll take you over to my website, input your email address, and that means that each month you'll get my free monthly newsletter, and I can also let you know each time I upload any new movies. I'm starting this July newsletter doing what I think is probably the most important thing you should do in the next 2 months in your garden. And it's something that people tend to forget, and that's sit. You need to take time. You need to take time for a couple of reasons. The first is it gives you a chance to look around and see what's working in the garden, and it also gives you time to look around and see what isn't working. And it gives you a chance to enjoy it. I mean, if all we do is go flat out all the time, there comes a point where people just think it's just too much and I don't enjoy this anymore. So the first thing is just take a few minutes to sit down and look around it. And I'm sitting in my mum's garden. A couple of reasons really. I want to just sort of talk you through some things in front of me in her little vegetable part out. And it also means I can drink her wine rather than mine for a start. Just in front of me here is the bed she's growing salad in, and what is great about this is that the lettuce, the mixed lettuce she's growing, are growing fantastically well. She's been cropping these for about 6 weeks, and the way she crops them is she just takes 1 or 2 leaves from each lettuce on the outside when she wants to eat it, which means that she's not continuously re-sowing the lettuce, and that's a really good way to crop the lettuce. In front of it we've got some of the chard, which is now starting to really produce. You can use the small leaves in salad, or when they get larger like this, they're a fantastic substitute for spinach. And then right at the end we've got the Japanese vegetables, the Japanese salads. We've got Mizuna and Mabuna, we've got red frills, mustard and komatsu. And look, they've gone to seed. You can see they've gone to seed, they've got flowers all over them. That's because of the time they were sown. We are now past the longest day of the year. The days are actually getting shorter, and that's really important for some vegetables, and especially the Japanese salads. Now is a great time to start to sow these. If we sow some now and some in 6 weeks time, these will go all the way through our winter, and they'll give you salads all the way through the winter. But until they're ready to plant out, and I'd suggest that you start them off in modules. Don't throw these away. You can eat the leaves, they're still fine, and you can even eat all of the flowers, so that's brilliant. The little bed in front of me here, we're about to take this garlic out. I think I told you in one of the previous newsletters, it's got garlic rust, or allium rust, and I've still left it. It's probably got 2 weeks, I think, before I get it out, but the garlic itself is looking quite nice. And in front of it, this is our elephant garlic, and what we've got growing here is a flower head, and that is what you see referred to as a garlic scrape. And garlic scrapes need to be taken off, and the reason they need to be taken off, if you don't take them off, the energy will go into here, into this flower bud, and the actual elephant garlic won't swell as much. So we can actually snap these off, but you don't throw it away. You can actually use this garlic scrape. You can chop it up. It's like a very, very mild, garlicky, sort of spring onion type of taste, I feel. And you can use it in lots of different ways. I love it in an omelette. I think with pancetta, it makes a really, really nice salad. And you literally just snap them off. If you're growing normal garlic, and it's what's called a rockamole or a hardneck garlic, this scrape when it comes out will actually be curled, and it's why the common name for some of the hardneck garlics is serpent garlic, and you need to get that off before it straightens up again, otherwise it'll take energy away from the bulb. Just down in front of me is one of my mum's experiments this year at the front of this bed. These are asparagus peas, and I've not grown these before, my mum's not grown these before. They have a small pea, which is a cross, they say, between the taste between asparagus and a pea, and we'll see, but they're growing quite happily, they're coming quite nicely, lots of little flowers on them. And another thing you need to do is keep a record of what you're growing. not only for those things that work really well and the varieties that work really well for you, but be brutally honest with yourself. Some things won't work, and if they don't work, don't grow them again. You know, there are certain things I've grown over the years that just don't give me enough return on the investment I've put in to warrant being in the garden, and I just wouldn't give them house room. And sometimes these vegetables that become fashionable or are new or haven't been in cultivation, there's a really good reason for that. They're either difficult to grow, or they are very low cropping, or they've got more problems with them. The only other thing in here that I want to show you are these runner beans. These are butter beans. My mum's very keen on these. I love these. They have sort of 3 or 4 very large butter beans in them, and they make a fantastic sauce to go with the pasta. But we'll be dealing with that once they come. But they're climbing away up their wigwams now. So that's all the bits in my mum's garden. I'll now go to my allotment and show you 1 or 2 other things that you could be doing now in the garden, and I'll give you a list of the things that you can still plant and what I'd be doing about planting those. We're now in my allotment, and I'm sitting between 2 beds that we created in the last 3 months. The one I'm sitting on is our no-dig straw bale bed that we've put our courgettes and squash in, and you can see just in 2 weeks these have started to really grow very, very well. They're growing very quickly. There are lots of flowers on these courgettes. You can still get courgettes in, but you're going to have to buy them from a nursery. If you've never grown courgettes before, I did a film last year about growing a courgette in a tyre on top of your compost heap. It's the way my mum's done it for years, and it really does make use of that space in your compost heap that you don't do. But courgettes, keep them really, really well watered, and if you're watering in your allotment or your garden, better to water a lot infrequently than a little frequently. Better to really soak them and leave them than to water a little. This is our no-dig potato bed. We've already started to harvest some of our BF15 potatoes out of this, and as you can see it looks a bit sort of purpley bluish. That's because it's being sprayed now with Bordeaux mixture to stop blight. If you're growing potatoes and tomatoes, you are going to have to spray against blight, otherwise you will get blight. I spray every 14 days with Bordeaux mixture, and I alternate that with sour milk 1 week, and I alternate it a fortnight later with seaweed feed. The sour milk again stops spores settling on the leaves. It also adds calcium to tomatoes and makes them grow really well. And then the third bed, you can probably just see, has our sweet corn and our celery and our spring onions growing. You can still plant spring onions now. It's one of the things you can get in. The things that you need to be thinking about sowing now are your winter brassicas, if you haven't already done it. It's a bit late for Brussels or purple sprouting broccoli, you'll need to get those as plants, but you could still sow cauliflowers. You could certainly still sow kale. If you've never grown kale, one of my real recommendations is red boar kale and also Cavello Nero, black Tuscan kale. What is fantastic about them in a small garden is that you pick the leaves like lettuce when you need them, and the plant just continues to grow. What I'll show you over here is what you can do though if you've got a small garden with brassicas to extend the season. We're now over with some of the Brussels in the brassica bed. This contraption is a sort of hooped cloche that I made to keep the pigeons out. And in here you can see there's some wonderfully healthy looking Brussels, and these were planted out about 5 weeks ago. But in front of me is the module tray of Brussels sprouts that these came from. They were all sown at exactly the same time. It's a variety I really, really like. And what I've done is manipulate the conditions of growing to extend the season, to give me a longer season, so I don't get them all at exactly the same time. And these little modules have a really good root system. They're planted in the ground and choop, they're off, bang, they're growing. And you can see how big they get in just 6 weeks. But by keeping these in their modules and just keeping them watered but not fed, I have retarded their growth. And by retarding their growth, I extend the season. So I'm manipulating how much feed I give them at the beginning to extend the season at the end. And that's fantastic with brassicas. It works really well with Brussels, it works well for me with cabbage, and it works really well with cauliflowers. Kales you don't need to do that with, because as I said a second ago, with kales you just pick round and round the stem, and the stem gets longer and you just take the leaves off as we go along. The adverse of that, or the opposite of that, is what you need to do with, say, oca, which is an Andean tuber I grow. It has none of the problems of potatoes, and I really like it. It has a very slight lemony taste to it. And I'll just move you down this bed and show you why you do the opposite with oca. This is oca that has just been put out as a tuber, and as you can see, it's not very tall, it's quite healthy, but it's just not growing particularly strongly yet. And with oca, I've found the longer the season you can give it, the better. And what I've always done, or done for quite a while, is I cover it with fleece near the end of the season, so that after it's frosted, that's when the tubers swell. But like all plants, the bigger the top growth, the more tubers you'll get. And 5 feet this way are oca that I started off in pots in the polytunnel. You could do exactly the same in a cold frame. And I planted these out at exactly the same time that I put these tubers in the ground, which is 4 weeks ago. But just look at the difference in size. These ocas were started in 4-inch pots, moved into 6-inch pots and planted out a month ago. They're much bigger plants, they're much stronger, they're much healthier. So if you're going to grow oca, make sure you start it off inside. The same with beans. If you start them off in root trainers, they'll get a much quicker start and they'll grow much better. One of the things you could still sow now would be a last sowing of French beans. If you live in an area which is further north and will get colder, do dwarf French beans. They'll grow quicker and they'll crop quicker, but a great thing to get in. It's also the time to start thinking about winter salads. Chicories or endives are fantastic. If you've never grown these before, they're really good to grow. They take up very little space in your garden and will crop through the winter. Seeds of Italy do a great pack for £1.99, I think. It's less than £2, which has about 12 different varieties in it. And I'll give you the equivalent of about 60 bags of that salad that you buy from the supermarkets. So let's be honest, that's a £100 salad save in there, I think, isn't it? Because they're about £2 each, and we're talking about £2 for 60 bags of it, so it's more than £100 salad saving. The other thing I'd say is, think about, we were talking earlier about trying things that are different, and this is an experiment for me. It's not a vegetable as such. What this is Poncirus, and Poncirus is a hardy citrus relative, and I've germinated some of this, and I'm going to try growing this as a hedge. I'm actually going to plant it down the side of the allotment as a hedge. It's got really quite nasty spikes, so I'm hoping it'll keep my goats out, but I doubt it somehow. But what it does have, it has that same scent that you get with lemons or limes. Now I can't grow either of those in the UK, they just won't live outside. So this is my experiment for this year, and I think growing something new and different is something that I really say everybody should try. We're doing this, we're growing muskmelons this year, we're growing cucamelons, and in my subscribers newsletter we'll be doing a sort of chat about the muskmelons and the things that are growing inside the tunnel. And it might seem an odd thing to say, we're coming up to the height of our summer, but think about ordering your autumn sown garlic and your autumn sown onions, because if you order them now you'll get the best choice, and it means that when we get to October, November, you'll have them ready to go in. My subscribers newsletter, like I say, is out in the next couple of days. We're going to be cropping our potato we've been growing in a bag. Thank you for all the comments that I'm getting and questions. It really is fantastic to get the interaction and to sort of be able to answer those for you. And I hope we have an absolutely blistering July. we're also going to be doing an update this week on the fruit garden we planted at the beginning of the year. And what's amazing is we actually are cropping fruit, so that's really going to be worth watching. So thanks again for watching, and bye for now.